A catch-22 situation is a situation that you can't get out of. You might have heard the expression damned if you do and damned if you don't. Well, that's a catch-22. It comes from a novel written by Heller in 1953 concerning a dilemma that a World War II fighter pilot found himself in. And the dilemma was simply this, that if you had a rational fear for your own safety, then you could be classed as sane. And if Heller's fictitious commander was sane, that meant that he had to fly into combat, where he could obviously be harmed and killed. The only way to not fly into combat was to class himself as insane. So he was in a catch-22. He could either be killed in combat or classed as insane, and if he were insane, then he wouldn't have a rational fear for his own life, which meant he would have to go to war. Catch-22s, in our experience, are really painful when we find ourselves in them. They're emotionally distressing and they're psychologically demanding. You'll normally find yourself in a catch-22 manoeuvred into that position by other people. There's a whole heap of guilt in the mix here and blame on the table, so nobody wants to pick that up. What we normally do is start fighting. We go to combat and we try and use rational reason to deal with a very unrational position. The other alternative is to claim ourselves completely falling about, and by that I mean losing the plot. So then we can be let off by being insane. But then the sooner people think you're insane and crazy, the sooner you then are back in the catch-22. Because either you're not attending to the situation that you've been put in, or you're crazy and that's why you're not attending to the situation. This catch-22, written about all those years ago, is actually a really difficult dilemma that nearly all of us find ourselves in, and there's really only one way to get out of a catch-22. So let me show you what that way is. So using our example here of our fighter pilot either going into combat or classing himself as crazy, but then still going into combat, he arrived at the conclusion that there's only one way out, and his one way out was to crash the plane. If he crashed the plane, what that meant was that he could then row himself out of that situation and go to a safe place and enjoy the peace that he was wanting and deserved. So what does that mean to us in our everyday situations? Well, it means that to beat a catch-22 situation, you have to break the rules. Catch-22 is an either or, and you are damned if you do and damned if you don't. So you need to figure out how to row yourself out of there. From my reading in lots of different disciplines, I see this same pattern come around time and time again, where people are caught in the middle of this paralysing situation. You do one thing, you're wrong, you do the other thing, you're wrong. But actually what's being suggested here, that there is a third way. If you're feeling your head's caught in between this spin and you're paralysed because you don't know what to do, then you are in a catch-22. So instead of considering your two options, consider how to row the boat out of there. I'll leave that with you to decide how you're going to figure that out, but that's the way out of a catch-22 psychological and emotional situation. Good luck and bye for now.